Blocktails has a lot of different cards, and some of them people love, while some of them people hate. Today, I put together a list of the most loved and the most hated cards in Blocktails, and we're gonna start with hated card number 1, Comatose. This is a ball exclusive card that people were actually pretty excited for. When the developers added it to the Dream World back in October 2024, it replaced Cure and Resurrect. What it does is cost 2 SP, and this ball move deals damage and tries to put an enemy to sleep for 3 turns. Hitting the enemy again wakes them up instantly. The problem is this card's way too expensive for what it does, and it even got even worse in June of 2025 when they nerfed it, reducing the damage by 1. People barely pick this up anymore because you're spending all that SP for not enough payoff. It's supposed to be powerful, but it just doesn't hit hard. In the defensive category, we have a card that people absolutely love. Loved card number 1 is Feel Fine, and this thing's a beast. It's a defensive action card you can stack up to 5 times, and this card's sole job is to cure and prevent status ailments for a target for 3 turns. You can stack multiple copies and just tank through difficult fights. It works in pretty much any deck build, and it never feels like a waste of a slot. Hated card number 2 is a summon card that let us all down. The card is called Gorilla. I'm not gonna lie, people were hyped when summons were added. This card costs 3 SP to use, and it summons a gorilla ally whose HP scales with your level. The gorilla's punch attack deals 2 damage and pierces a fence. This thing just doesn't do enough damage for a summon. Sure, in May 2025 they gave it the ability to resummon unlike the other summons, but that doesn't really fix the core problem. It's just too weak. When you compare it to other summon cards like Cruel King, it just falls short, and most people would rather use their SP on literally anything else. Let's talk about a card that does its job perfectly. Free Poison is an offensive action card that you can stack up to 5 times. This was actually replaced in the Sketchy Figure shop back in October of 2024 by Bodyguard. People loved it so much because poison damage adds up fast. It's an offensive action card that costs 1 SP, and it enchants your next attack to apply level 1 poison for 3 turns. In May of 2025, they made it even better, and it no longer restricts the ball slot. You can stack multiple copies and watch enemies just melt from poison. It's efficient, it's reliable, and it doesn't take up your weapon slot anymore. Hated card number 3 hurts because it's the default card. The sword is practically unusable in serious runs. This is the default attack option, a melee strike that only hits the frontmost non-flying enemy. It pierces half of the enemy's defense. If you hit the action command, it deals 2 base damage, but if you fail, you only deal 1. You can't even choose your target. Back in July of 2024, they nerfed it hard. It used to pierce more defense, but now it only pierces half. You know what card does defensive damage, right? Thorns. This is a defensive passive you can stack up to 3 times. Thorns makes you deal +1 counter damage when you super guard, and 1 extra damage to enemies that you hit with a counterable melee attack. The trade-off is it gives you -1 defense and reduces your guarding window. In October of 2024, they nerfed it to give you -1 defense and limited it to 3 copies. In May of 2025, they changed how the guard window works, so now the reduction only affects certain melee attacks. People still love it because that counter damage is just so good, especially against boss fights where you know you're going to take hits anyway. They even replaced it in Bizville Buckshop, but people are still farming for it. Hated card number 4 is another defensive card that just doesn't do enough. The card is Charged Defense, and you can stack it up to 3 times. It's an action card that costs 3 SP. For that, it gives a target a buff for 3 turns that makes them take 50% less damage. The thing is, it requires you to set up before you use it, which makes it super clunky. In May of 2025, they clarified that it halves damage taken while the effect is active. By the time you charge it up, you could have just used something better. They even removed it from enemy item pools in the same update, which tells you everything. Most players would rather use Feel Fine or other instant defensive cards. Let's talk about a passive card that actually rewards skill. The card is Ante Up, an offensive passive you can only have 1 copy of. This passive adds +1 damage to all of your attacks. The crucial part is it halves the timing window for action commands. If you miss the command, the attack deals 0 damage. This thing halves the attacking window, which sounds scary, but if you've got good timing, the extra damage is absolutely worth it. It separates the good players from the great players. Sure, it's harder to hit your attacks, but when you do, it hits way harder. It's become a staple in offensive deck builds. Hated card number 5 is a card that sounds good on paper but fails in practice. The card is SP Drain, an offensive passive you can stack up to 5. This passive restores 1 SP to the user after they successfully land an attack and deal damage. The huge downside is it decreases the user's attack damage by 1, but in actual gameplay, it just doesn't impact fights enough. You're using up a card slot for something that barely affects the battle. You could be running cards that actually deal damage or give you better defense, and pretty much much everyone agrees this card is a trap. You know what summon card actually lives up to the hype? The card is called Cruel King, and he's an instant classic. For 10 SP, it summons the Cruel King as an ally in battle who comes with 30 HP and can attack enemies. As soon as people got their hands on him, they knew he was special. This is what a summon card should be: powerful, reliable, and consistent. You can only summon him once, but honestly, that's all you need. This is what Call Gorilla should have been. Pretty much every summon-based deck runs this card. Hated card number 6 is a sword exclusive that got hit with some rough changes. The card is Power Stab, and they didn't know what to do with this card. It's a sword action that costs 2 SP. It performs a sword attack that deals 1 extra base damage, which means 3 on a success and 2 on a fail. In May of 2025, they increased the SP cost to 2 and reduced the attack boost from +2 to +1. A few days later in June, they tried to fix it by reducing BP cost to 0, but it's still not worth it. You're paying 2 SP for only +1 attack, and since it takes up your sword slot, you could be using something better. Let's talk about a special action card that players absolutely love. The card is Ghostwalker. For 2 NRG, this special sword ability applies Dodgy level 1 to your entire party, which they added in June of 2025, making you significantly harder to hit. Being able to dodge attacks is huge in this game, and it rewards players who've got good timing and prediction. It works in pretty much any deck, and it's one of the most consistently praised cards in the game. Hated card number 7 had a rough journey through updates. The card is Softener, a sword exclusive you can stack up to 5. It's a sword move that costs 2 SP, and it applies level 2 defense down to an enemy for 3 turns. The attack that applies it also pierces defense. In May of 2025, they completely reworked it. They removed it from the ball slot, added it to the sword slot, and made it pierce enemy defense completely. On paper, that sounds amazing, but in practice, it's still underwhelming. A real issue is, it takes too much setup for what you get, and sword users would rather run literally anything else. You know what support card absolutely delivers? The card is Bodyguard, a support action card you can stack up to 5. This action card applies a guarded buff to an ally for 3 turns. The great part is, the buffed ally takes 50% reduced damage, and you, the user, take the remaining 50% rounded up. The developers added it to the Sketchy Figures shop in October of 2024, replacing free poison. In May of 2025, they reduced the BP cost from 2 to 1, making it even better. Protecting your teammates or yourself is valuable, and it works in solo play and co-op. The BP cost reduction made it way easier to fit into decks, and everyone loves having this card in their deck. Hated card number 8 is another support card that just doesn't cut it. The card is SP Wire, a support action you can stack up to 5. It costs 5 SP, and this action card allows you to transfer 5 SP from your character to another party member at a cost of 5 SP. They even tried to buff it in May of 2025 by reducing BP cost from 1 to 0. Even at 0 BP cost, people still don't want it. The core problem is the effect just isn't powerful enough to matter in battles. You're using up a card slot for minimal benefit. Let's talk about a passive that high skill players absolutely love. The card is Aggressor, a defensive passive that was added in May of 2025. This passive increases your attack by 1. Its original penalty was that it prevented your HP meter from rolling, meaning you took damage instantly. This is the ultimate risk reward card. After they reworked the penalties in June of 2025, now you get a +1 damage, but you take 2 times damage from all incoming attacks. If you're good at dodging and don't plan on getting hit, this card's insane. Hated card number 9 is a passive that sounds useful, but really isn't. The card is HP Finder, or HP SP Finder, depending on which version you want. This passive card simply makes you recover an additional 1 HP after winning a battle. In May of 2025, they set the BP cost to 10 and reduced max stack from 5 to 3. The problem is that BP cost is absolutely ridiculous. You're spending 10 BP just to find more HP items, and you could be running actual powerful cards. It's one of the worst cards to waste BP on, and they replaced it in Bizville Buckshop, which says it all. You know what passive actually pays off? Investor. This is a support passive you can stack up to 5 times. Investor increases the amount of ticks you get from enemies by 30% after winning a battle. In July of 2024, they reduced BP cost to 2 and set it to plus 30% money gain per card. If you're able to stack all 5 copies, then you're getting massive money gains. The long-term value is huge, and with all that extra money, you can buy way better cards. For loved card number 10, this one completely changes how you play. The card is Launcher, a weapon alternative that replaces your ball. This weapon fires a rocket that ignores 1 defense and applies level 1 defense down for 3 turns to the target. It also deals splash damage to adjacent enemies. The developers added it in July of 2024, and you can purchase it in Turritopulus. They actually nerfed the splash damage twice, once in July 2024 and again in May of 2025. The current state is that it does one less splash damage from base, maxed at 3, and doesn't skip enemy positions. Even with all those nerfs, people still love it because the splash damage lets you hit multiple enemies, which is huge. Loved card number 11 is another status effect card that people love. The card is Free Ice, an offensive action card you can stack up to 3. For 1 SP, it enchants your next attack to apply level 1 Frozen for 3 turns. Back in July of 2024, they patched a damage boost issue with Free Ice and Slingshot. In May of 2025, they made it way better and it no longer restricts the ball slot. Why is it loved? Well, because freezing enemies is super useful for crowd control. Ice effects can completely shut down dangerous enemies. Loved card number 12 is a ball exclusive passive. The card is Cannonball. This passive card simply prevents your ball attack from being destroyed when it hits spiky or flaming enemies. Every serious ball build runs this card. Loved card number 13 is another defensive passive that people swear by. The card is Safeguard, and you can stack up to 5 of these. This passive card increases the effectiveness of your timed guard by 20%. The appeal is passive defense is huge because you don't have to activate it. It's just always working in the background. Pretty much every defensive deck runs at least a couple of these copies, and the developers haven't touched it because it's perfectly balanced. Loved card number 14 is a summon card that actually got buffed. The card is called Red and Blue. It costs 6 SP, and this action card summons Red and Blue Noob to fight with you. Their HP scales with your level. These two are amazing. In May of 2025, they reduced the SP cost from 6 to 5, and in June, they adjusted the damage and gave it double turns. They're right up there with Cruel King as one of the best summons. Loved card number 15 is a passive that's a little confusing but very powerful. The card is Item Plus, a support passive. This passive card boosts the effects of items used in battle by 30%. This includes HP and SP restored, effect duration, and item damage. It originally had a max stack of 4, but in May of 2025 it was nerfed, and the max stack was reduced to only 1. Item focused builds definitely want this card. Loved card number 16 is Free Fire. It was added in May of 2025. For 1 SP, this offensive action card enchants your next attack to apply level 1 burn for 3 turns. The key improvement is, just like Free Poison and Free Ice, it no longer restricts the ball slot. It's loved because burn damage over time is super valuable, and you can stack up to 5 of these. Now you can run all 3 free status effects without sacrificing weapon slots, which gives offensive builds so many more options. Loved card number 17 is an offensive passive for aggressive players. The card is Power Rush, and you can only have 1. This passive card increases your attack power by 1 when your HP is at or below 25% of your max HP. What makes it good is it's all about pushing offensive pressure. Aggressive players love anything that increases damage output, and the devs haven't touched it, which means it's in a good spot. It works great for offensive cards like Ante Up, so if you're all about dealing damage, this card is for you. Loved card number 18 is a defensive passive that just got readjusted. The card is Defend Plus, and you can stack up to 2. This passive card permanently adds +1 to your defense stat. It's a simple, straightforward defense boost, and 2 copies give you solid defense power. Every defensive build considers running this, and it's reliable. Loved card number 19 is a support passive that helps you start strong. The card is Lucky Start, and you can only have 1 copy. This passive gives you a random positive status effect like HP regen, SP regen, defense up, spiky, or concentration for 3 turns at the beginning of a battle. In May of 2025, they reduced the BP cost from 4 to 3 and reduced the dodgy effect from level 2 to level 1. Starting a fight with any level of dodgy is huge. At 3 BP, it's way more accessible, and they keep tweaking it, but people still love it. Loved card number 20 is a support action card with an interesting history. The card is Sacrifice Plus, and you can only have 1. It's an action card that costs 3 SP, and the user loses 50% of their current HP, and that HP is then divided evenly and distributed as healing to all other party members, including your summons. Plus, it revives dead party members. Back in October 2024, it would revive and heal. In November 2024, they changed it to only deplete and give 50% HP. Even with the nerf, being able to revive teammates is very useful. Sure, you lose HP, but saving a teammate is worth it, and hopefully someone in your team will use Ice Dagger. Loved card number 21 is an offensive passive that changes your weapon slot. The card is Knight, and you only have 1. This passive increases the damage of your sword slot by 1. The trade-off is it completely removes your ball slot. Back in July of 2024, they made it so equipping Baller and Knight gives you +1 damage to other sources of damage. In May of 2025, they reduced BP cost from 4 to 3 and moved it to demo 4 shops. Why is it loved? Well, it's for players who don't want to use ball at all, and the BP cost reduction made it way easier to get. We've now covered all the loved cards, and we can't forget about the hated ones. But let me tell you something, some of these cards really deserved better from the developers. But the developers have done a pretty good job making most of these cards usable, and it's really just a few that missed the mark. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with this list. Drop a comment if I missed any cards that you love or hate. Even if you agree or disagree, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.